Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Sensible Hippie podcast. I'm your host, the Sensible Hippie. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you an individual who embodies the true spirit of transformation, resilience, and a holistic approach to health and wellness. Skip Stein was diagnosed with an aggressive prostate cancer in 2010. Our guest's story takes an inspiring turn as he chose to embrace a holistic plant-based approach instead of the typical Western approach. A decision that has not only led to his own remarkable recovery, but that also became a central focus of his mission. Now, Skip is a health and wellness coach. He empowers others to make meaningful changes in their lives, enabling them to prevent, manage, or even reverse diseases. Now, during our interview, he really couldn't hear me very well, so we kind of had to wing it. So I think you get the gist of this, and I think you'll appreciate our interview. So please welcome Skip Stein. Welcome to the Sensible Hippie podcast. I heard your journey on Chris Beat Cancer, and I found it remarkable and really encouraging. And for our listeners that don't know your story, could you share more about your personal journey and what led you to embrace a holistic plant-based approach?
Well, back in 2010, I was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. I had a biopsy, and it came back with a Gleason score of 4 plus 4 or 8, which is considered pretty high. And a little bit of background to that, my father had died of so-called prostate cancer, but really it was the treatments that killed him. And so I vowed never to do it. And so when I was diagnosed and I told the doctor I didn't want to do any of the traditional treatments, I spent 6 weeks interviewing doctors, surgeons, radiologists. They wanted to put pellets in me, all kinds of terrible things. And the side effects were horrendous. So I said, no, thank you. And the guy said, he had a session with my wife and I in his office after I told him I wasn't going to do anything. And I was going to there was a technical term called watch and wait. That's actually a medical term. And so I said, that's what I was going to do. And then he sat down at his computer in his office with my wife and I by his side and went through a list of all the horrible things I would do. I would not live more than 2 to 3 years. I would be in horrible pain and suffering, and I would be wheelchair bound, and on and on and on. And finally, we just got up and left because he was just disgusting. And all the other doctors I talked to tried to use some kind of scare tactics and said, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And I said, fine, I'd rather die. And so I decided to do nothing. We continued our research, and we found Charlotte Gerson and the Gerson Miracle, and which is still available on DVD, and you can get it free online. Then T. Colin Campbell and Forks Over Knives. And so we decided that, and there was a TV show called Incurables. It was on PBS. This was years and years ago. You can still see some of the YouTube videos. But basically, it was about 45-minute shows on PBS that discussed or interviewed people who had reversed disease one way or another after they had been told they were incurable and were going to die. Some of these people were, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 40 years after their death sentence. So I said, boy, that sounds pretty good. And so we researched about them, and the common denominator across all those was basically plant-based eating, plant-based lifestyle, eliminating meat, fish, dairy, eggs, sodas, all the crap, all the processed foods. Not necessarily all organic, but if you could, that'd be great. And so we did that, and yeah, still thinking I was going to die. I started feeling really, really great. Now I was 230 pounds back then. I'm 200 now. I'm not skinny. Um, so I bought a little smart car, brand new, with Mercedes smart car, 2-passenger. And I said, since I'm going to be dying, I want to live the last, bit of my life as much as I could. So I packed up the little smart car, and we had now been vegan probably almost a year, and both feeling really, really great. When I started, I did a 90-day juice, which was the Gerson, approach. Um, so we headed west from Florida, and we were gone for 43 days and traveled 10,000 miles. So like 120 national state parks. We learned how to hike. We were from here to the Pacific Northwest up to Glacier National Park, Mount Rushmore, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. And so we finally got home pretty much exhausted. And I said, I still feel pretty good. Maybe I'm not going to die. And so we proceeded to do this and continued our research. And then we went on, I found a cruise that was sponsored. It wasn't really sponsored by, T. Colin Campbell, but he was going to be on the cruise with Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, and a bunch of other great folks. And so it was Holistic Holiday at Sea. We left out of Port Canaveral here in Florida. And so we said, yeah, let's do that. So we went on that cruise. It was 10 days, and basically classes from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock, every hour and a half. So it was about 4 classes a day on all kinds of different subjects, but mostly focused around plant-based lifestyle, diet, medical, non-traditional medical treatments. Did yoga on the deck in the morning. They did Tai Chi and a bunch of other stuff. And we would, they had their own chefs. They had their own food supply separate from the rest of the boat. And there were about probably 500 people, maybe, attendees. Don't say wow now, because now the cruise leaves out of Miami, and there's like 5,000.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it's huge. So anyway, we would start on that. We met at breakfast, no assigned seating, and so some big tables and small tables. And every morning we'd sit down, and actually for every meal we met and sat with somebody different, introduced ourselves, and basically the scenario was, "Hi, my name is Skip Stein, and I'm dying of prostate cancer." And then somebody else would say, "I'm so and so, and I'm dying of brain cancer." And somebody else would say, "Oh, I'm so and so, and I have some other deadly disease." And everybody was dying, and it got to be a joke. And so we just learned to say, so what? Everybody dies someday. So we came back from that cruise, and pretty much, during this time, Nancy, I was doing juicing to start, and Nancy started doing more cooking. And she found a book by Robin Robertson called 1,000 Vegan Recipes. And she started it, the first recipe, and we went all the way through that book. And we still have it here on the shelf, and it's bookmarked and dog-eared and everything else. And she's got probably 400 cookbooks, something like that. So that's how we got started. And we continued to feel great. And then Nancy had seen a doctor, and they ran a camera up her arteries, and they wanted to do a stent. And well, now after, like several years after that, she did another test, and it was totally clear. Wow. So not only am I still alive, but so is she. And she doesn't like being on camera. Otherwise, I'd call her on, because we have facing desks. And
I hear her.
So really, that's how it was. And I have been strictly plant-based for now almost, 14 years. And no meat, fish, dairy, or eggs. Very few, processed foods. We still eat some. I still eat some. But not much. And so we started pretty much a company I had my own company. I was an IT consultant. I traveled the world from China to Europe, all across the USA, Canada, and Mexico. Um, with my IT, I had my own personal company, and so after we under that, we started uh, kind of a company called Whole Foods, the number 4 Healthy Living. The number 4 means no meat, fish, dairy, and eggs.
Oh,
And we've been running that for 10 years or so, I guess. And we use it as a foundation to publish our books, which I've got some behind me. Nancy writes and I'm writing. She's writing now a vegan tea book, tea party book, and she's working on that. That'll be out by the fall, I think. um, and I counsel people. I do have a degree in psychology, although I've never practiced till now, where I'm doing consulting, counseling efforts, mostly to prostate cancer folks. I get probably more calls from the daughters and wives
wow.
of fathers than I do from the guys themselves.
Mm.
Guys don't like to talk about this stuff.
Sure.
They don't like to admit they're sick, admit they're dying. Until I get them on the phone and we start talking and stuff like this and bouncing stuff back and forth. There's one young lady down in Miami who's, she's convinced her. We're due to talk maybe next week. Again, it's been about a month. Her father's been on the juicing regime for about 35 days now, I think, 30 or 40 days. And he's doing amazingly well. I think he was supposed to get blood work done this week or next week. So we'll see. But like I said, for a death sentence, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. And that's pretty much the story. And we love road tripping. We love hiking. We've took that little smart car all over the place. We upgraded to a Kia Soul, gave us a little more room. And that sits in the garage mostly. But the last couple of years is kind of idiotic. We can't do anything. And by the way, I just want to inject: we did not get the jab, and I never will. So it's just crazy, the things they're doing, and I didn't trust doctors much before because we're in the process. We're changing. Actually, we have an appointment next Friday. Next Friday. I think anyway. We're changing our primary care doctor because the doc we saw and had been seeing just doesn't get it. I'm sitting in front of him. He said my blood work is better than his. He said I don't look 77.
You don't,
which is a nice compliment. So we just continue one day at a time.
You look amazing, and you've been cancer-free or...
Hang on, I gotta turn on. Okay, try it again.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
So you've been diagnosed how many years ago now?
Oh, 2010, so about 14.
Yeah, 13, 14 years. That's amazing. And here you are still, and they said you would only have 2 years, right?
Yep, well, 2 to 3.
2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Is he still around? Do you ever see that doctor and say, hey?
Oh, hell no. Never went back. That idiot, you go into an oncologist office. After him and in my research, I was doing my due diligence. I saw all kinds of oncologists and this practitioner, urologists and all that stuff. And I really did a lot of research because I believe the guy in the first place. But you go into their office, and what do they have on the counter? Candy dishes. Okay, sugar feeds cancer, and you tell them you're going to be plant-based, and they look at you like you're really crazy. I said, yeah, but I'm still alive. And you said I was going to be dead. So no, I don't trust any of them. This new guy we're going to be seeing, we have met before. We do some healthcare seminars and stuff. He was at one of the seminars, so we figured we'd try him out because he was open to it. But we haven't really found a medical practitioner, locally. Um, we work hand in hand with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine in Virginia, pcrm.org. And they're really, really great. We worked with some of them at various healthcare seminars and manned their booths and stuff like that. There are a few. There are, prominent, probably maybe 50 or so doctors, but there's more and more coming on board all the time, which is a great, great sign.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sad. I mean, there's only one medical school that I know of that actually has anything about nutrition on their doctor's training, and that's Wayne State University in Michigan, outside of Detroit. That's the only one that I know of. I'm sure there are probably others by now, but so few, and the hourly load is minimal, and we find better luck with nurse practitioners or PAs. Seem to be a little bit more aware or a little bit open to it.
Mm-hmm. So you said your dad had cancer, and I think I read that your brother had cancer. I read your book. Your brother had prostate cancer?
Yeah, my brother died of pancreatic cancer. He was my younger brother by 3 years, and but he was diagnosed after I was, and after I didn't die. So, but he
didn't want
believe the doctors, believe the hospital, and he only lasted about 6 months after they misdiagnosed him to start with. But he didn't. I try and be a good example, but most people just don't listen. They don't pay attention. But all our neighbors think we're actually crazy. They laugh at us, but they look at us, and I look younger than some of my 50-year-old neighbors.
Yeah.
And we're more active, and we get out. We're out and about, and we spend a lot of time online in front of a computer, helping people, trying to help people.
Yeah.
And we don't charge for services. I don't charge for consulting or counseling.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I've got, I think the last count, about 50 men I'm talking to right now.
Wow.
But sometimes, and obviously I can't give medical advice, but it's just nice to talk to somebody that's been through what you've been through, or what you're facing, to offer some hope and some encouragement, and just saying, even if you don't have cancer, this is a wonderful way to live. It's exactly. My wife is a gourmet vegan chef now, and I eat vegan meals, every day, and they're absolutely delicious. And people do not understand how delicious this lifestyle diet can be, and truly is. Is it difficult to start for the people with cancer? Going through 90 days of juicing to start with, and that's a minimum. I say we, Chris Warwick and most of the other folks that are in these programs, Charlotte Esselton. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, she's passed away now. I never did get a chance to meet her, but I really wanted to. But almost all of them, follow a 90-day juicing regime to start. And that's both to cleanse and to build your immune system. Because most people who aren't plant-based are eating meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. And a lot of usually a lot of junk is processed. There's little to no fiber in it. Mm-hmm. People do not realize that over 70% of your natural immune system is in your gut. Okay? And your gut bacteria is what helps you heal. It gives the energy to your body and cells to reject the bad stuff and to encourage the good stuff to grow. The traditional lifestyle doesn't have sufficient, fiber, and it's the fiber that the good bacteria live off of. And so that 90-day juicing period, and you have to do many, many different things. first 14 days, you're replacing all your taste buds. And then you start actually to taste things. The next thing, you're flushing out that bad gut bacteria, the stuff that digested the meat, fish, dairy, and eggs, and replacing it with, natural immune system boosting bacteria, which consumes fiber. It eats fiber. Fiber isn't digestible for you. It's for the thousands, millions of different microbes in your intestines that they produce the enzymes and everything that feeds every cell in your body, the natural healing capabilities to kill the cancer, kill the this and kill that, and to produce the energy in your body necessary to heal. Your body is designed to be perfect in balance, okay? And the human kind have pretty much destroyed it by feeding it unnatural things, processed foods, chemical, things that are not natural, and on and on and on. Now we have biological, bioengineered foods, not genetically modified. Now there's bioengineered stuff that does not and cannot be produced naturally in nature. It can't be developed by just messing with some genes like genetically modified. It is really, really strange stuff. And I've got some stuff. I'm writing some articles now about that. But study that. So you want to avoid all the unnatural stuff. They're toxic. And do I eat Doritos? No. But do I eat corn chips? Yeah, I like corn chips every now and then. And because I eat periodically. I eat a lot of guacamole.
I don't know why people are afraid to give up their meat. I'm not really
They're
sure.
brainwashed. You have to keep in mind, it's just from people have their whole lives from the time they were born. Modern people have been brainwashed that you've got to, steak is good for you because you got to have the protein. But they fail to. You have to reflect back on that. And doctors are taught that way in college, okay, in medical school. Medical schools were taken over in the 1890s, I think, or something like this. Before, there used to be the family doctor that used to ride around on a horse. Well, they didn't tell you to do all this stuff. When medical schools were taken over, they brainwashed the doctors. Then TV came around in the 50s, late 40s. And people started watching commercials. And so the pharmaceutical industry and the meat, fish, dairy, and egg industry have consumed the marketplace. And people are brainwashed from the time they're born. The babies aren't even nursed anymore for the most part. Thank God my daughter nursed all 7 of her kids, until they were 2 years old or something. So I've got 7 grandkids.
Wow.
But so they're eating, babies are being fed processed formulas. Now, I don't know. I'm no chemist. I have no idea if they're worth a darn or not. But I suspect they aren't as good as natural mother's milk. And mother's milk from a mother who's eating a plant-based lifestyle, I guarantee you, is much more healthy. Luckily, our local grocery store could supply organic carrots, which was great, and is a commercial market supply. So I would do that, and I would throw in a banana, or not a banana, but an apple, a pear, whatever was kind of handy, just to vary the flavor a little bit. But basically, and then I would do greens, collard greens, kale, any kind of leafy green stuff, the cheap stuff. Buy it, we could get it at actually Walmart was a really good source. We still get our kale from Walmart. It's really, really good. So all day long, I would put my juice in quart jars. So I have the green juice and an orange juice, a carrot juice, and I would alternate all day for 8 hours. So 4 of each all day long. I'd have a green juice, an orange juice, a green juice, a carrot juice, and so I would have 8 10-ounce glasses during the day, and I would still eat huge salads when I was first starting, and I would stick pretty much to salad. Mostly for the first 90 days, I was probably pretty much raw. Although I did eat some cooked stuff. Cooked tomatoes are really good for men with prostate cancer because it has lots of lycopene, but you have to have them cooked. So lots of Italian stuff, which was really great. And so I did that for 90 days. And after 90 days, I switched to smoothies. And I wouldn't have them all day long, but like this morning, I had 2 big 8-ounce glasses of smoothie that I made a couple days ago. What was in it was lots of kale. I think 4 or 5 carrots, a couple of apples, some bitter apricot seeds, which is B17.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which are really, really good for you. But you have to have organic, and they have to be bitter because they also sell apricot seeds that aren't bitter. So the bitter ones, you can get them I get them on Amazon, and they're like $11 or $12 for a pound.
Do you
really
crush
cheap.
that yourself?
Pardon?
Do you crush those yourself?
I put them in my smoothie, or I just eat some.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh, really? They're not really that hard?
Yeah, they're hard. So, but after 14 years, you kind of develop a taste for them.
Okay. So
it's a good source of B17. And obviously, being vegan, you have to watch your B12. There are vegan sources for it, but it's safer to take B12.
So, with people with prostate cancer, what kind of minerals do you suggest for them to take besides the B17? Is there any specific ones that they take? For men with prostate cancer, what vitamins and minerals do you suggest they should take? What's important for them?
Oh, my wife thinks I'm kind of nuts. I take a lot of vitamins. I take B12 for sure. Plus, I found K2. K2 is more difficult to come by on a plant-based diet. Vitamin K is in all greens, so that's cool. But K2 is kind of a linchpin for helping the body, the bones absorb calcium. And so it's really good to make sure you get sufficient K2. You can buy vitamin D3 with K2 added, and that's what I would recommend. But I take probably 2,000 vitamin C probably 4 times a day because you don't store vitamin C; it flushes through. So I'm a big advocate of vitamin C. So I take a lot of that. Then I take. I have a list of vitamins on my cancer site, my cancer site is survivor.wf4hl.com, and there's a page on there for references. I have references that list books, videos, vitamins, and proteins. We recently, several months ago, because it's been so bloody hot in Florida this summer, we used to get out and walk every morning, a couple miles. But now I'm rebounding. And I don't know if you know of rebounding, but I recommend look it up. You can buy a rebounder for under $200. And now I rebound basically 4 miles a day.
Wow.
8,000.
You're doing
8,000 steps. Yep, just bouncing.
Oh.
I have it set in front of our big sliding glass door, so I can look out the backyard in our garden, and or I can watch TV. So I do that every day. 8,000. Try and make 8,000 steps every day, which is about 4 miles.
Okay.
And it really helps the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is necessary to drain the toxins. And your circulatory system, your blood system, has a heart to pump. Your lymphatic system has nothing. The only thing your lymphatic system can do to flush out all those. It looks just like a cardiovascular system all throughout your body. That's where all the toxins go. And the only way to flush that out is exercise. A lot of people don't exercise enough, but the bouncing, the gravity, and you don't have to bounce high. Your feet never leave the mat. Just kind of bouncing this way or bouncing like this, or a little bit of both, which is what I do. It helps the lymphatic system flush and drain. And I do that several times a day. So it keeps that system drained, and I feel even better than I did before.
Wow.
I've actually lost 20 pounds
Awesome.
since I started doing that. So it's working.
Yeah.
And
You look great.
something else I'll mention that we found within I'm an IT guy, computer guy. So I've always been a fan of Nikola Tesla. I'm sure people have heard the name. It's not the car you drive. It's the scientist from the 1800s and early 1900s. And he developed alternating current. Okay, so he was a competitor with Thomas Edison. So he's made his bones, and he's invented so many different things. But he also presented he wanted to do free energy, which is why modern, guys, didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because they'd lose money.
Exactly.
If you had free energy, you wouldn't need oil and gas, and you wouldn't need, windmills, and you wouldn't need, power plants and all that stuff. But anyway, that's one thing. But he was also big on, and people think it's nuts, but frequencies. And frequencies are coming more and more into play. Our acupuncturist, by the way, we love acupuncture. Our acupuncturist is right on board with us on frequencies. But we started studying frequencies, and it's an amazing the amount of information that's out there that is suppressed. You never hear about it. Some of the people watching this may be the first time they've ever heard. Everybody knows what frequencies are, but frequencies can attune to the body at the cellular level. And go on YouTube and just look, type in frequencies, and you will see thousands of different presentations, beautiful presentations of images and the human body and stuff like this, but with different tones and music. There are some that are just 10 minutes of just a single tone, a certain frequency. That I will listen to because it's supposed to be good for prostate cancer. Well, okay, fine. But there are other ones for sleep. There's meditation. There's so many, but trust me, look into it. It is amazing. We play it all day long. We play healing frequencies all day long when we're just putzing around the house, or on the computer, or just taking a nap in the afternoon if we feel like it. Or doing a meal or something. But just look it up and listen to them. They're very relaxing. It's free. You can download the darn things, and I put them on to play at night so we don't have to watch TV. But very energetic. And you can even buy, Tesla frequencies. They're I'm not going to go into it now because I'm not trying to sell anything.
Oh, no.
But people can contact me and ask me questions about it. But we've had these about 2 weeks now, and swear to God, we had them by our bedside, and we had to move them away because we had so much energy. We were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I never did that. So,
you told me
whether it's psychosomatic, which is possible, or true, I don't know. But it works for us, and we love it, and we're exploring more and more into it. And we've just found so many. There's things called Rife machines. There's machines that can produce tonal frequencies, but they're really expensive. We don't have any extra money. Unfortunately, nobody buys my books, but you did. Thank you. That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm better at answering questions than kind of giving talks. I'm giving a talk in Tampa, Florida next week, if anybody wants to know that. And I've got on my website, the cancersurvivor.wf4hl.com. There's another tab on the left for interviews that I hope this one will appear onto. But I've been interviewed by Chris Warwick, if people know who Chris Warwick is.
Yes.
Chris beat cancer. He's a friend. We've met before at Cancer Institute and Cancer Foundation. And I've been interviewed by several other people. And so you can watch those interviews. Nothing great, nothing brilliant or anything else. I'm just a survivor that enjoy life. I want to be around for great grandkids. So I'm determined to be here one way or another. So
has COVID stopped you folks at all?
Pardon?
COVID, has that affected you at all?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Did COVID ever?
Oh, COVID? No. It's the flu. I told my neighbors, all the people around here got shots. We didn't get shots. Yeah, my neighbor was sick with so-called COVID, and so I took him over a quiche Nancy made, and they like our food. They'll take it when we give it to them,
sure, but
they won't come over for dinner. But so I took it over to him, and he had his mask on, and he was inside his house all by himself. Now the guy's really a nice man. So I walked in with a dish, gave it to him, and he put it over behind him on the counter. I offered to shake his hand, and he jumped back like I was going to shoot him. And I said, Greg, it's the flu. I've had the flu. I take my vitamin C. I don't get sick. Speaking of which, it's been 14 years almost since we've been on this. I can only think of maybe 2 times I felt a little under weather. Sometimes I get a little under the weather for a day or two, and then I bounce back and I'm fine. But we don't take any flu shots. We don't take any medications to speak of all. We take a couple. I take an allergy medicine sometimes if it gets bad. We do take melatonin at night to help sleep, which is healthy, along with my other vitamins. And we take B12 every day. I take a good general multivitamin. I like Now Pharmaceuticals or now I think it's Now Pharmaceuticals. They have a really good vitamin for men. Basically, it's geared towards some of us older guys, and it's got great B12, and it's even got saw palmetto, which is good for prostate. Mm-hmm. And so it's really good. And they have a similar one and it's called Adam, and the one for the ladies is called Eve. So it's not terribly more expensive than one a day. But if you just compare the ingredients to any other vitamin on the market, which I did, I don't think you'll find a better one. And I don't make any commission off that either. But it's just good stuff. Any kind of supplements or anything else I usually get from them.
That's awesome. So, yeah. Is there any other thing that maybe advice that you could give our listeners?
Yeah, the advice is to live life every day. I'm an alcoholic. Okay, so I've been so clean and sober over 30 years. So I recommend don't drink. But besides that, you learn to live one day at a time. And there's a prayer that the Alcoholics Anonymous say after every meeting, and I won't repeat it here, but it's just a way to live and look at life, and be thankful. Thank the Lord every day I wake up, because every day is a gift. Every day is a beautiful day. Some days are rougher than others. I think we've got a hurricane heading our way again, but we live in Florida, so you got to expect it. I was born in Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I grew up outside of Detroit, Michigan, a little town called My dad was transferred down to Terre Haute, Indiana, where I finished high school, And then I went to Houston to go to college because I read a newspaper article that back then in the 70s, college was free in Texas.
Oh,
And all you had to do is pay for books. And
wow.
it's
Not anymore.
$75 for building use fee or something. And I got a job at night at a bank, and they even paid for that. And they paid for my
Wow.
books. I know. It was the president of the bank was on the board of regents of the University of Houston. So I could work at night, go to school during the day, and I would work 20 hours a week. I was part-time, but I was considered a full-time employee. So I got medical benefits. So and a friend of mine turned me on to it. It was total accident. And that's how I also got started in computers. Because this was back in 1970, 68 really, when they still had punch cards, which you probably don't have any clue about. But this is a drum card for anybody that's curious. You wrap the card around this and put it in a machine, and it would read it. And I have all kinds of little tidbits. So that's how I started in computer business. Even though I finished my degree and ended up in psychology. So maybe my dear friend who was a doctor and had got his doctorate in psychology in Houston, he said, "Well, Skip, you're finally using your degree." I said, "Yep, Phil, so far so good. I guess I am." So my wife is certified plant-based nutrition, and she's a wonderful gourmet chef, and we try and help people. She's got active MeWe. If you go to our home site, which is Whole Foods, the number 4, healthyliving.com or WF4HL.com, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page, and Nancy's got a Pinterest site, which has, I forget how many thousand recipes. She's got a MeWe site that is real active, interactively, that you have to ask to join over on MeWe. And I have a site over there too for prostate cancer guys. And we do a lot of stuff online. And we talk to people all the time. You're welcome to stop by, to call, to chat.
Wow.
I do Zoom calls. So it's like I said before, sometimes it's just nice to talk to somebody, to say, I never say I don't have cancer. I have cancer. I have prostate cancer. I don't give a darn, because I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I feel great. And so why worry about it? And people get all balled up, and the doctors use all these scare tactics for your PSAs, going up another point, and scare. You got to do surgery. You got to do chemo. You got to do radiation. And every one of those, just all you have to do is look up chemo side effects. Look up radiation side effects. Pellet side effects. Okay? Look up the side effects of the drugs they want to put you on. It's worse than the disease. You're better off dead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And it is horrible. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the medical profession, because I think they've been corrupted to such an extent by the pharmaceutical companies that they're nothing but drug dispensers, and they make money. Doctors, when I was a kid, used to go see the doctor. He used to come in and sit down, and he'd talk to you, say, "Skip, hey, how you doing? How was the baseball game last week? How you feeling? How do you, let me thump you a couple times." So he thumped my back and listen to my chest. Now, when's the last time you went to see a doctor, he got out a stethoscope and checked your heart? Or check your breathing, check your, make sure they take your blood pressure and check your pulse, stuff like this. And they look at the blood work, but they don't really ask you how you doing.
No.
If they spend 10 minutes, it's starting to go on 10 minutes. They're looking at their watch. I got to get to my next patient.
Yes.
So they aren't doctors. They are guys in a white coat that sell drugs,
Yep.
surgeries, and make kickbacks or something, however they make their money. They charge you a fortune, and you've got a bunch of crazy idiot insurance companies that should be having us promote their health style, because if more and more people, practice a plant-based lifestyle, you wouldn't have diabetes. We can reverse diabetes too in 30 days. 30 days. Okay, no drugs, no medications. And again, you can go to a PCR, m.org, and they have all kinds of information on that. And, heart disease, my wife is a walking, example. Clear your arteries out, okay? Go to Colin Esselstyn's site.
Mm-hmm.
He's big on reversing heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many physicians. Dr. McDougall, the starch diet. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. Hold on a sec. What?
Neil Barnard.
Oh, Dr. Neil Barnard. She's saying that's PCRM.
Yes.
He's wonderful and great guy too. So there's so much information, but you don't hear it from anybody. You won't hear it from your doctor. You won't hear it from your medical practitioner or anybody else. There are all kinds of natural approaches, like for men, like I said, saw palmetto, lycopene, which is from tomatoes, all plant-derived different systems, tinctures, CBD is great as well. There's all kinds of different ways, and the thing is, there's no single way. There's a multitude of ways. Don't listen to Skip Stein, okay? Don't listen to anything I say. Verify everything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't listen to Chris Wark. I love Chris. He's a great guy, but I disagree with him on some practices. And there's a lot of people that start on these protocols and these regimes, if you will, and they're only designed for 90 days. The juicing is only designed for 90 days. Now, can you juice again? Sure, I don't care. Nobody cares. But people adopt these things as long-term solutions, and they aren't. They're introductory solutions to get you started, to flush your system, change your taste buds, change how your mouth feels, change how your gut responds, because it can be disruptive to start with, because you are making a major change to how you live and how you eat and how you do everything, how you poop, how you pee, everything. Okay, everything changes. And along that line again, before I forget, try and go to the drugstore and get some pH strips. Check your urine in the morning, first thing. Your saliva and your urine. Try and maintain an alkaline balance, okay? Neutral to alkaline, because cancer cannot live in an alkaline body at all. Impossible. So try and this diet will get you directed from an acidic to an alkaline diet, and your body will naturally adopt that, and your balance will equate. Your body's designed, your gut, intestines, your stomach is full of hydrochloric acid. Okay, it's supposed to be full of acid, but your body overall, your balance in your body and your kidneys and your liver are there to help balance that, to keep a neutral body, a neutral pH. And if you get too acidic, you're going to get sick. You're going to get the flu. You're going to get something. You're going to get cancer. But if you stay alkaline or neutral to alkaline, you will never get sick again. And your body will equalize and your body will balance. And you'll feel fantastic. Like I said, I'm 77 and I'm supposed to be slowing down, retired. I have 30 different websites, okay? All focused on different aspects of health and wellness and healing. And it's just a wonderful life. And like I said, I have 7 grandkids. The oldest is 28. I think he's going to be 29. He's a lawyer. So that's kind of candy to have in your hip pocket. The youngest is 13. My daughter is 50. God bless her. Her and her husband he's a wonderful man. And so we've been blessed that way too.
Do they eat plant-based as well?
Pardon?
Do they eat?
No. They think we're nuts. Now, the oldest one, who was when he was in college, he was dating a beautiful young girl who was vegan, and so he was vegan for a while. The
Okay.
number two grandson is about 50%. Okay. The number three actually asked Nancy to make a vegan birthday cake for his last birthday.
Oh,
So they they
they're
they
open to
see
it.
they under the kids understand it better than my daughter. Her husband, my son-in-law, he would go along with it, and he understands it, but he's still, nah, I like my steak, I like this, I like my hamburger. But the thing I try to implant is, if you don't want to do it now, at least understand it.
Mm.
Because we've been doing this for like 14 years. You know, we go over to her house for most holidays. They come here for Christmas. That's the only time I make, meat, is to feed them on Christmas. But most of the meal is plant based, except for a big chunk of pot roast. Uh, um, so they understand what I've done. They fully comprehend it. They still think we're a little bit wacky, but that's good. Grandparents should be wacky. You want to present the kids with an alternative way to look at life, and hopefully it's more wholesome, it's healthier, and they get it. Even the youngest one, 13, they get it. They get it because they know what plant based is. They know what vegan means. They know all the definitions. They understand what we do day in and day out. And so I hope it doesn't take something this dramatic to cross them over. I think that I'm hoping they will naturally. Um, but we're here for them if and when they want to. And we have, like I said, our neighbors think we're totally nuts. I even have a little placard on the front of the house that says "Skip and Nancy, the vegans," in case anybody's trying to find us. So they know we're here, but we can't really attend any of the main functions because it's all hamburger parties and steak parties and junk food parties, and we just sorry, and they all know that. So that's why they never ask us to a party, because they know we can't eat that stuff, and we don't drink. Actually, our neighbors don't drink either, which is nice. And she's got severe diabetes, and all the symptoms, swollen legs, ankles, and blah blah blah, and still refuse to
And
even think about it.
helping. The medication's not helping her.
No. They're killing her.
Yeah.
The medications are deadly. Almost every medication you can get off the shelf. Look at the side effects.
Mm-hmm.
Read the prescription. Read the side effects. When you go to the grocery store, read the label. If it's got more than 10 ingredients in there, don't buy it, because it's probably crap. Okay? Maybe more than 5, really.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with the vegetable aisle. The fruit, the nuts, the seeds. If you like sweets, get dark chocolate covered, almond nuts and stuff. It's wonderful stuff, really, really delicious. But the dark chocolate doesn't have any dairy in it, so people say it's bitter. You get used to it because it's only the dark chocolate is bitter, and I like that too. But just read the label, understand your body, understand how your body works, everything from digestion to frequencies to mental health. It's just, there's so much information out there, and we've been studying for 14 years, and we learn more and more every day. Like I said, we just discovered frequencies the last few months, and and that's fascinating.
Yeah,
but it keeps your brain active, keeps your brain thinking, and it keeps you healthy.
I listened to a TED Talk, and they talked about the frequency and actually apoptosing the cancer cells. So it breaks it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Every cell in the body, every cell in nature has a vibration frequency. They vibrate a base level frequency. and everyone's different. Um, so your bones are different than your eyes and blah blah blah. um, so yeah, but it's fascinating to study. Does it work? I don't know, but it's kind of fun to try. And like I said, whether it's psychosomatic or true, it doesn't really matter because the impact is the same. So people say, "Oh, it's psychosomatic," but it works.
It works. I mean, the doctor actually, I don't think he was a doctor. He was some university guy, and he had it on video. And he turned the frequency on, and you saw the cell, and it
Yep,
apoptosis. It vibrated and broke open. So
yep.
yeah, it does work.
Like I said, just go on to. As much as I hate YouTube, go on to YouTube and just scan healing frequencies or look for some and just try and play some. You won't like them all, but some of them are just really pleasant. They're great to sleep by, and the thing is they're nice. They're 12 hours long, so you can play them all day long, all night long.
Yeah.
And you can alter them. I download them and put them on USBs and plug different ones in every night, or we listen to them in the afternoon. I do my bouncy, while watching some of the videos because they're actually beautiful presentations. They really, really are, and they show the human body and the different aspects of it. And there's all kinds of different, just really, really pretty ones. And I tell you some of the publishers, but I can't remember. But if you look it up, they're easy to find.
Are you planning on traveling anywhere? I know you say you can't travel so much because you have so many grandkids.
So people are crazy these days.
They are.
And so it's no fun to travel. I mean, everybody, and now the idiots are saying they're going to do masks again, even though they've been proven they're totally useless. Totally useless.
Yep.
And we did find a source for ivermectin. During the COVID time, we actually went out. I went out to the farm store and bought ivermectin paste for horses, and we did some of that for preventative. Tastes pretty good, actually. So
sweet.
But I do have some ivermectin tablets just in case. I couldn't find a source for HCQ, but I would recommend that as well. But this stuff is insane. Your body. God designed your body to be healthy and live long. Look at some of the biblical stories. If you don't have to believe the Bible, but they lived long ages. If you don't believe it today, look up blue zones. There are 7 blue zones around the world, and all of them are different cultures, different everything. Chinese, Japanese, and there's only one in America, and that's in Cupertino, California. They're called blue zone, and people live typically to 100, 120, and they don't retire till they're 100 years old. They're active professionals, active doctors. Wow. And those doctors I'd go see.
Yeah.
So there are places around the country, and there are examples of people. Just look up centenarians. There are more and more people who are living longer and longer lives, and a good portion of them are plant-based. And there's more and more, the world's greatest weightlifter was plant-based.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of professional athletes. They don't like to advertise a lot of them because people ridicule them, but they're plant-based. Yes. And they have more energy, more stamina, they can walk longer, run longer, swim longer, play tennis better, on and on and on. And if you do any kind of research at all on the recent stuff, people are dying from side effects. Talk about side effects. That jab, has horrendous side effects, and they blanketed that and they've suppressed that.
Yeah.
But research it. Don't believe me. Do your own research. It's so easy to look it up. And don't use Google, for God's sake. They suppress everything. Use DuckDuckGo or one of those. There's plenty of alternate browsers. So find them. And do some research on these things. There's so much to learn, especially for you old retired guys out there and gals. Keep your brain active. Learn, read, study. I have behind me here a collection. It's called Great Books of the Western World, and I've been carrying that collection around. It's like 50 volumes, probably 75 volumes, and it's got everything from Aristotle to Dr. Freud, and I've been carrying that collection around with me since 1975, I think.
Wow.
And I still haven't read it. I've read good bits of it, and I've studied it because it's a great reference material. But one of these days, before I die, I want to read every one of those 52 great books of the Western world. And again, I've read some of Aristotle, but I haven't read everything. But I've read parts of Dr. Freud, but not everything. But read, study, and there's so many different things to read. Novels, fiction. I love science fiction. But there's so much knowledge to absorb as well.
Yeah,
and there's not enough time in the day.
There isn't.
Luckily, we have enough energy that keeps us going.
Yeah. Yeah. The way you keep going, you're going to live to be 120.
I hope. I hope. I want great grandkids.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Skip. I know you're a busy guy, and thank you so much. I appreciate your time that you gave me today, and I'm sorry about the audio. I'm sorry you couldn't hear me.
Oh, I've got to replace these headphones. There's not enough volume control on it. That's the trouble with getting old. Being up and down in airplanes every week for 35 years does damage to your eardrums. And I'm not deaf. Yeah. So, but we don't do that. I never want to see another airport. Never want to see another airplane. Never, ever, ever again. I mean, literally half my life, adult life, was spent someplace else, and it was great. It's a great way to make a living and stuff like this. But I was away from my family too long, too much time. I was only home on weekends for 25 years after we got married. Actually, that's how I was living in Houston. I got a contract building a new data center for the Michigan Conference of Teamsters, whose offices were downtown opposite the old Tiger Stadium. And like I mentioned before, I grew up downriver Detroit. Well, I went to the University of Detroit High School. I got a kind of a scholarship, special acceptance, and it was taught by college professors, not high school teachers. And I went there a year and a half before I moved to Indiana. But when I was growing up as a kid in downriver, they call it downriver Detroit, we had a sock hop. And if you don't know what a sock hop is, look it up. It's when kids, teenagers, would have a dance in a gymnasium. And because of the gym floor, you couldn't wear shoes. So you had to wear socks. Okay? So they called them sock hops. Oh. And I know you don't know. This is our grandkids miss out on so much life. And so anyway, but during one of these sock hops, in hindsight, retrospect, as we're adults, my wife Nancy, as a teenager, is 14 years old or 15 years old, went to an all-girls school. This was an all-boys school. So they had mixers, they called them. And this was a sock hop. She was at the same sock hop I was at. Okay? Wow. We know that for a fact. We never met that we know of. We never bumped into each other that we know of. But then 30 years later, I was going to the Michigan, downtown Detroit every week, flying up there, usually on Sunday night, coming back on Friday afternoon to Houston. So I was commuting from Houston, but I was, going into the Detroit Metro Airport. Well, Nancy, my lovely wife, worked for Delta Airlines. Guess who I met at the airport in the Crown Room, which is the private club for Delta, was Nancy. So we met, we started talking, and 2 years later, we were married.
Wow.
So we could have met when we were kids, but it took another 30 years before we actually did physically meet.
Wow.
Fall in love, and we've been married now 38 8 years
Wow.
this next week.
Oh, wow.
So, yep.
That's amazing.
So life goes on,
meant to
and
be.
we enjoy it as much as we can.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you
So
so
any
much.
of your listeners and viewers that if they want to chat, you can schedule a chat with me. I do Zoom
Wow.
calls. And like I said, sometimes it's nice to just talk to somebody
Yeah.
who's been there, done that. And I don't provide any medical advice, but I can present a lot of alternatives, and you can bounce ideas off me and saying, "Did you do this? Did you do that?" I will tell you, the biopsy was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. So I don't recommend it. And there are doctors now that don't even do PSA tests anymore because they're so ineffective. Because PSA, and I'll say this in closing, PSA stands for prostate specific antigen. And they run it on every guy, okay? Every man, as part of their blood work. And normal PSA is 4 or less. As soon as that thing goes to 4.5, they tell you got cancer, or we think you might have cancer. And they do an examination, which I won't describe. It means an enlarged prostate. And as men age, your prostate, why? I have no idea. But every man who's over 50 has a somewhat enlarged prostate. That's just how we live. That's how our bodies work. And as that prostate increases, naturally, it's going to produce more antigen. And so it naturally produces more. And doctors use that as a fear tactic. It has zero direct relationship to cancer. None at all. Okay? It means it's inflamed. Now, can a tumor cause that inflammation? Yes. Okay. But there's no direct correlation. So always take that with a grain of salt. Don't worry about it. I talked to a gentleman, it's been about 2 weeks ago now, who has cancer. He had his prostate removed 10 years ago. His PSA is 800, and he doesn't have a prostate.
Wow.
Okay. I talked to a gentleman at actually a party we catered, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago. He was 82, I think. His PSA with no prostate, had it removed, 10 or 15 years before. His PSA was 1700, 1700. Okay. Talked to a gentleman the other day whose PSA was like, I think it was 300 or 400. So don't let a high PSA scare you. They use it as a scare tactic. Okay? Don't do that. Just don't do that. If your glucose level goes, to, over 100, to say 120, your glucose level's too high. So bring it down. Change your diet. Change your lifestyle. You can reverse that. All these pre-diabetics that are out there that are on medications can be easily reversed in less than 30 days. And eating a delicious diet. And you don't have to do the juicing stuff either. That's just for the cancer folks, because that's the recommended approach. But there's so many alternatives.
Yeah.
And so many different ways to approach this. There's no one single, methodology, protocol, or whatever. I have a protocol book out, but the only reason it's out is because everybody says, "Skip, what's your protocol? What's your protocol? I don't have one. I just changed to a plant-based diet. So I wrote a protocol, which is nothing more than the simple 90 days of juicing and the rest of it, going plant-based. It has some background information and stuff on vitamins and minerals and all that kind of stuff. But basically, that's all it is. And all these protocols are the same way. And there's so many different approaches, and they all have different aspects, but they all have the common denominator is plant-based lifestyle diet. And that's all you have to worry about. And you can do the other things, you can do the extreme versions, but I'm too darn lazy. I just like to eat too much. I love to eat. I love food. I love flavors. So, and this has been wonderful.
Yeah, it has. Well, thank you. So what is the best way people can get a hold of you if they want to talk to you and consult?
Again, you can go to, I have many websites.
What's
If
the
you go to wf4hl.com,
okay?
scroll down to the bottom, there's a tablet list of different websites I have. Health-healing .wf4hl. Most of all these are what they call subdomains off of wf4hl.com.
Mhm.
So everything is before that with a period. So I have lots of different ones. Cancer survivor. Um, have ones. One for seniors, and got a book for seniors. Plant-based for seniors. I specifically wrote a book for that. Um, so we're self-published. I mean, we do Amazon, so it's easy. It's easy to write a book. You want to write a book? Write a book. I wrote my autobiography just so my grandkids would have something to refer to if I do die. The great grandkids can say, "Who was Papa?" I said, "I wrote a book." So it's easy to do. It doesn't cost anything.
Wow. Thank you.
So anyway, but it's fun too. I love to write. I love to talk. So call me if you will, or call, schedule an appointment. Email me at skipstein.wf4hl.com or WFPBLS Whole Foods for Plant-Based Lifestyle.com. Like I said, all those are listed down the bottom of our main site, or you can go to Whole Foods, spell it all out, Whole Foods, the number 4, healthyliving.com. And
I will link that.
we're here to help. And Nancy, we have active sites and support sites and groups. And every now and then we'll give talks and lectures and stuff like this. But I do a lot of these interviews, and they're kind of fun. And get to know people from all over the place.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm from Hawaii, so
Yeah. Aloha.
yes. Aloha. Yeah. Thank you, Skip. I really appreciate your time again.
My pleasure.
And I hope we can talk again.
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be
We
fun.
want to talk about the Mayans too.
Yes. You need better headphones so you can hear me.
Yep. Sounds good. All right, hon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. And that brings us to the end of this inspiring episode with Skip Stein. His journey from overcoming adversary to becoming a guiding light for holistic health is truly remarkable. His story has reminded us that no matter the challenge we face, there's always a path to healing, growth, and transformation. I encourage you to take the lessons Skip has shared to heart. Embrace the power of plant-based nutrition, nurture your well-being, and remember that resilience is within each of us. To keep up with Skip's mission and delve further into his wisdom, be sure to follow him on Whole Foods for HealthyLiving.com. Whole Foods with an S, for the number 4, HealthyLiving.com, which I will have in the show notes below. And remember, your health journey is a continuous one. Until next time, take care, stay well, and keep thriving. As we conclude this episode, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery and manifestation. Your presence and support fill my heart with joy, and I'm honored to have you as part of our Sensible Hippie community. If you resonated with this episode, I kindly ask that you leave a 5-star rating and a heartfelt review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us to spread the magic and inspire more soul seekers to embark on their own transformative journeys. And now, as you step back into your daily lives, may you carry the essence of this journey with you. Remember, you are a co-creator of your reality. and the universe is always conspiring to bring you closer to your dreams. Embrace the adventure, welcome the unknown, and trust the whispers of your heart. Until we meet again, remember that you are magic and the world is your canvas. Manifest your dreams with love, light, and pure intentions. Until the next time, take care. Bye.
I just wanna dance for the hell of it, hell of it. Wanna take a chance for the thrill of it, thrill of it. Wanna raise my hands 'cause I'm feeling it, feeling it. Are you feeling this? Are you feeling this? Oh, you only got one life, so make it feel like sunshine. I feel the sun on my face, it's a brand new day, and it's telling me it'll all be okay. All the clouds and the rain, that's of yesterday. Yeah, I'm telling you, it'll all be okay. It's a good day. It's a good day. I just wanna move to the rhythm of my own beat. Wanna clap my hands, flip my hair, stomp my feet. Wanna make them stare 'cause I'm radiant, radiant. Shining everywhere, shining everywhere. I feel the sun on my face,